first day of school. Very, very exciting. I was up late last night figuring out a new plan. Here it is. Fear. I need a list of all the possible negative outcomes on the first day at a new school.
Way ahead of you there. Does anyone know how to spell meteor?
Disgust. Make sure Riley stands out today, but also blends in.
When I'm through, Riley will look so good, the other kids will look at their own outfits and barf.
Joy. Yes, Joy. You'll be in charge of the console, keeping Riley happy all day long. And may I add, I love your dress. It's adorable. Oh, this old thing? Thank you so much. I love the way it twirls.
So I am now joined by Amy Poehler, who stars in the wonderful Inside Out, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And Amy, you play a character called Joy, who is responsible for the happiness of a little girl called Riley, and you're doing a wonderful job for quite a long time. And then she moves to San Francisco and the wheels come off slightly. Can you just tell us a little bit about the premise of it?
Yes, the setting is inside the mind of a girl, and the characters are her emotions, and Joy has been in charge for all of Riley's life. And what happens is we realize that sadness also needs a seat at the table. And the story really is a funny workplace comedy on a surface level. Mm-hmm. But what it really deeply deals with is the idea that we have to welcome sadness into our life. Mm-hmm. It's the pursuit of joy sometimes kind of gets in the way of growth and change. Mm-hmm. And so Pixar, once again, does this beautiful job of taking this really complex and high concept, deep idea, and then delivering it in this really beautiful, funny, and touching film.
And it is very funny. And I mean, there's all the emotions are there in the movie as well. When it was pitched to you, I mean, I can't really imagine, because did you read it first, or did Pete Docter, the director and writer, pitch it to you?
Well, I was last to join as far as the cast, and so they had been working on it for a few years. These films take 5 years or something to make, and so I joined at year 3, I think. And when I was told that I was playing Joy, or they wanted me to play Joy, it was like my entire circuit board lit up of joy. I was thrilled because Pixar is such high quality, considerate, and interesting art. Mm-hmm. And so I knew it would be very special. And the entire time, people have asked me, when you were recording it, did you know it would be a special film? And the answer is yes. The entire time I was waiting for this moment to talk about it, for people to see it, because I think it's just truly beautiful and great.
It is, and I went to quite a small press screening, but I went with my 11-year-old son, who insisted on coming with me. And we loved it. I mean, we just absolutely loved it, and we laughed and we cried, and it's everything you want from that type of experience as a father, as a parent, to go with your son and share these things. But in the week afterwards, it's been a revelation to me, in the sense that just our conversations are very different. And the idea of not only accepting sadness, but recognizing it, because the film really deals with nostalgia, doesn't it?
Well, yes, it deals a lot with memory and the idea of who am I? What are my? They create this thing called islands of personality. Riley has these things that her emotions feed, her memories feed, and they are things that she loves. And I would challenge you to ask your son, what are his islands of personality? What are his core memories? It's wild what they will tell you. Mm-hmm. I have 2 boys, and as you know, it's not so easy to sit them down and say, how are you feeling? And they won't say, a little anxious, thank you. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, probably fearful. They just have no sense of that.
You're never going to have that.
But to say to them, isn't it interesting how Joy didn't want sadness around, and she couldn't understand why she helped things. Mm-hmm. But it's this way of one removed way of talking about feelings and emotions. And
there's also a bit where things we never are going to use sort of get swept away. So things like some maths class go, and some sort of algebra stuff just go, never going to use that. So my son has used that as a bit of an excuse every now and again as well.
Yeah, Pixar creates all these wonderful worlds, and the mind is almost like under the sea, and it's a place we haven't seen, but we spend our entire life there. And they created these people called the forgetters, who are basically sucking up memories that you don't need anymore. Piano lessons and such.
And dreams as well is a big part of this film.
Yeah, there's a thing called dream production, and they basically show you how your dreams are made, and it's almost like an old style, like MGM set of a film, and there's a cast of characters that are used, and it's just these really high concept,
very high concept.
ideas that your 11-year-old son love and doesn't feel like in any way is at school.
No,
if that makes any sense.
no, absolutely. They are presented in a very easy way and
Yeah.
sort of entertaining way, but they really linger and stay with you, and they're great life lessons. The film is about that.
Yeah.
Just talk technically about, as an actor, what it's like for a movie like this. I mean, when you're doing live action, you're there, you're on the set, you're able to, you're with the other actors. I mean, just a simple thing like, do you learn your lines for a script like this?
Well, no, I didn't. I would read the script and come in somewhat prepared, but Pete Docter, the director, is a wonderful director, and he does what any good director, whether it be an animated film or a live action film, does, which is he guides you and gives you a sense of the emotional journey of the character. But there was a lot of changes in the film. They really tinker and rewrite and re-record. So I did not learn my lines. I had them in front of me, but I didn't act with many of the actors in the room. So it was really often kind of a setup like we have now, which is me and Pete kind of sitting at a table with other producers and working it out together.
It's amazing because so a lot of it is you on your own,
Yeah.
just riffing or riffing off his lines or stuff. Are you watching anything of that? You say
No, animation not even close to being done.
Okay.
And I found a couple of things. One was that I couldn't do Joy sitting down.
Yes.
So I had to be standing.
She's quite manic, isn't she?
She's like a engine.
Mm-hmm.
And what's wonderful just as an actor is that Joy goes through her own journey and gets sad for the first time. And so I had to modulate. She comes out of the gate very strong. And then by the end of the film has learned some lessons. So it was kind of tracking her journey, but it was really wild. I mean, there would be days when I would come in and my job would be to, kind of think about all these exclamations and interruptions and this big high energy stuff. And then other days where I would come in and Pete would say, "You're going to cry all day." And I would say, "Jackpot."
I can go there very quickly. But what about the first time you saw the film? I mean, for us, as actors, you go to the screening, but you've probably seen dailies and you've seen, so you've got a concept of it. You've stood on the set, for instance. With this, what was the first time? What was it?
It was
like?
amazing. For two things, being an actor, you'll know you're not obsessing about your own face, right? So that goes away.
Yeah.
So that your physical body is this thing that you depend on, and when it's taken away, sometimes it feels like an impediment, but also it's total release and freedom. So you're not just doing that very ego thing of like, oh, what did I do that? Why did I do that with my hands? Yeah, why is my hair so weird? And then secondly, an animated film, as a voice actor, you work on it for a short amount of time relatively, and then it's taken away from you, and then it's brought back to you in this beautiful, like as a gift. So I was overwhelmed. I thought it was, I forgot it was me. I just watched it like it was a character in a film, and the score and the art and the lighting,
Yes. I mean, it's beautifully put together.
Yeah, it really is.
I wanted to ask you as well about another project of yours, which is Smart Girl.
Yeah.
What is that? Just tell me about the concept of that, because I don't think our listeners here in the UK know them.
Oh, okay. So Amy Poehler Smart Girls is a website and that I run, and it started just as some kind of excuse to do some webisodes and web content, and now it's grown a bit into a social media brand, and it's my attempt to kind of engage in social media without having to, Instagram pictures of my omelets. And but it's a brand. It's kind of we're producing content and shows, and it's an attempt to build a community and do fun and funny stuff.
It's a very supportive place, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we there's a lot of really divisive and lonely stuff on the internet, I find, and so it's an attempt to be a sneaky antidote to that. But really, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be kind of funny and inclusive and
it's boys and girls as well,
for
isn't
sure.
it?
Yeah. And it's just it's for anyone. Everyone's allowed.
I checked it out. I think it's a great thing.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
Really, really
yeah,
wonderful.
it's been really great.
And Inside Out is a bit of a smart girl movie, I feel.
I would be so honored that I'm honored that you say that. I agree.
Same ethos, I think.
Yes, for sure. This idea of, you never look stupid when you're having fun, and this.
And the
being yourself.
And embracing all of those emotions.
And what I love about Riley, the character of Riley in Inside Out, is she's an ordinary girl. And I mean that meaning she's extraordinary because of that. She's curious, but there's no wizards, there's no amulet that she needs to chase, there's no dragon that she needs to slay. And the thing that happens to her is very, quote unquote, ordinary. She moves, she changes cities.
Yeah, and she's growing up.
She's growing up, yeah.
I think the other great thing about it is her realization of the real world. I don't know what the San Francisco Tourist Board think of the film, but it's nothing to do with that. But I thought it was wonderful. I urge everyone to go and see it. And as a parent, it was a real gift for me. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Same.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really nice to talk to you.
When the Culture Show first started, I did a report about the rise of computer graphic animation, in which we had hand-drawn animators worrying that actually their art form was going to be lost, but quite the opposite has happened.
I'm sorry, this was the point at which I started going, then comrades come rally. Sorry, okay? As for the rest of them,
What was that?
That's the Internationale.